If you watched my 5 crochet hacks video, you might remember that in a section where I'm working with multiple strands of yarn, I mentioned that there's a way to use 2 strands of yarn to create really fun plaid patterns. And I mentioned that if y'all wanted to see a video on that, I'd make a video, just let me know. Well, you guys let me know that yes, you wanted to see a tutorial on making buffalo plaid using 2 strands of crochet, so that's what we're gonna do in this video. So I made this big buffalo plaid square here. I turned it into a pillowcase. And for mine, I just crocheted the front and then I only had this like ugly platinum shiny fabric for the back. But we're gonna ignore the back and look at just the nice beautiful front here. And if you wanna use the buffalo plaid pattern to make a pillowcase, I'll put a link in the card somewhere up top. That'll show how I put the back on here. But this method can be used for other things besides just pillowcases. This same buffalo plaid method would make a cozy blanket, a fun rug, or even a very cozy and chunky cardigan. Now there are different ways to create buffalo plaid patterns using crochet, but all the versions I've seen involve 3 strands of yarn, you have your 2 dominant colors, and you have to find some kind of in-between color. What I love about this method though, is that first of all, you only need 2 colors of yarn. Secondly, you can create a perfect in-between color. And third, that in-between color gets a nice variegated look versus just being a darker shade of one of the other colors. Now, because we are working with 2 strands for this project, the fabric itself turns out pretty chunky. And I'm showing this pattern with single crochet, but the same idea would apply to stitches like double crochet if you wanted to use that instead. But the single crochet is a nice way to get familiar with this concept. So don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and let's learn how to crochet 2-strand buffalo plaid. Now before we actually start creating our buffalo plaid, we need to do a little bit of planning and a little bit of prep work. First of all, you need to decide what yarn you're using. We're going to need 2 different colors, and I would recommend using the same brand just because it's going to be a little more consistent, but in theory, you could use 2 different brands as long as they're the same weight. And then we also need to decide what size crochet hook we're going to use. You might want to play around with this just a little bit and try a few different hook sizes and do some small little test swatches. So just hold the 2 strands together and use them like they're just 1 strand, and you can make a little test swatch and see how tight or loose your stitches are. So when I was working on this bigger panel, that's what I did. I tested some different hook sizes to see how tight or loose I wanted the stitches, and what I decided is that working with 2 strands of this weight 4 yarn, I wanted to use a 9mm crochet hook. You don't have to use weight 4 yarn, you don't have to use a 9mm crochet hook, but do spend a few moments playing around with it to get a good hook size and yarn size match. Now that we've figured out hook and yarn, we need to figure out what dimensions we want to make our panel, because that's going to determine how many blocks we do and how we prepare the yarn. So this panel, as you saw in the very beginning, I turned into a pillowcase. So what I did was I took my pillow, measured across, and determined that that's how wide my pillow cover front needs to be. And I want to say it was like 16 inches or so. So then what I did was I worked with both strands of the yarn and I crocheted however many stitches to get me to that 16-inch length. So this was just a test swatch. This wasn't actually working the pattern. And what I found out is that if I worked 36 stitches, I would get to that 16-inch length. If you're doing a different size or you're using different yarn or your tension's different, you may need to do a different number of stitches, but you want to start by figuring out how many stitches wide do I need for my project. Once you know that number, you're going to divide it up into squares. Since mine was 36, I figured I would divide it into 6 squares that are each 6 stitches wide, just because 36 divides nicely that way. If you find yourself with a number like 37 that does not divide down well at all, then maybe try going up a stitch or down a stitch and see if your project will have enough stretch to get the size you need, but be a number that you can divide into blocks. Now technically you don't have to make your blocks all the same width, but if you're going for more the classic buffalo plaid, then you will want them all the same number of stitches. Then once you know how many different blocks you're going to have, that tells us how many individual little balls of yarn we need to create from our 2 colors. So for my pattern with working at 6 wide, that means I'm going to end up with 1, 2, 3 solid color squares on each row. So there's 3 black squares, 3 red squares. However many squares of a color I end up with on a row, I'm going to need to roll that many balls of yarn in that color plus 1 more. So when I created this one, I have 1, 2, 3 squares of black. So that means I rolled 1, 2, 3 plus 1 for 4 balls of black yarn. Same with the red. I have 1, 2, 3 squares of solid red. So I rolled 4 balls of red yarn. Today on camera, I'm going to do a little bit smaller of a version, and I'm just going to do 4 squares wide. So in a 4 square section, we're going to have 2 solid colors per row. So that means I need to roll 3 balls of purple and 3 balls of orange. So I'm going to do that to get myself set up, and then I'll show you how we crochet the buffalo plaid pattern. So I'm going to make my buffalo plaid 4 squares wide, which means I will have 2 solid colors in every row. So I have wound together 3 balls of each color. However, we only work with 5 of them at a time. The way the design works, every row of blocks will have a dominant color. So if we look at all the blocks in this row, they all have a strand of black. So this block uses a strand of black, this block uses a strand of black, so does this one, this one, this one, all the way across. If we go to the next round, all these blocks use a strand of red. And then each square, we alternate which color we're doubling up with. So here we have the dominant black color with black, then the same black color with red, the black color with black, black with red, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to use purple as my dominant color for the first row of blocks. That means that this first row of blocks is going to have blocks that are solid purple and purple mixed with orange. So I'm going to work from this ball of purple in all the stitches of all the rows that create the first set of blocks. And I'm going to make my first block purple, so I'm going to start with 2 strands of purple. In this one, that's my dominant color, I'm kind of keeping separate, and then the other ones I'll place along the top up here, but I want to keep track of this one. But I'm going to take my 2 strands of purple, create a slip knot, and put that knot onto my hook. Now I'm going to treat these 2 strands as if they were the same strand of yarn. Another thing too is I'm going to start with foundation single crochet, so I would recommend getting familiar with that before starting this. Another option is to do just a normal turning chain, but I prefer using the foundation single crochet because if you use a chain, the chain isn't going to change color with our first row of blocks, so I just think that the foundation single crochet is a little more seamless. I'm going to make my design on camera 4 blocks wide, and I'm going to do 5 stitches for each block. So I'm going to start off by chaining 2. This is 1, this is 2. And I'm going to work 5 foundation single crochet. So that's where I go back and insert in my first chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. Again, treating both of these strands of yarn as the same strand. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. That's my first foundation single crochet. To work my second one, I'm going to go in the base of my first single crochet, kind of go under all those strands there, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's my second single crochet. I'm going to work 5 of these. So pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 3. Going to insert in the base of the previous stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 4. Now we're going to work the 5th stitch, and we're also going to do a bit of color changing here. So I'm going to again insert in the base of the previous stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, and now I'm going to pause because we're going to change color and introduce the orange. So this is my dominant color for this set of blocks, so I'm going to keep working with this, but I'm going to set this ball of yarn off to the side. Then I'm going to grab an orange ball of yarn, and I'm going to hold it with my dominant color. So if we look here, this is my dominant strand that I'm using. So this one, it's a little twisted up. I'm just going to push it to the back side and ignore it. So I'm going to take this dominant strand, and then I'm also going to grab my orange strand. So I'm just going to hold them together like so, and then I'm going to finish up this 5th single crochet by yarning over with the purple and the new orange, and then pulling through 2. And now I'm going to work 5 single crochet using the purple and orange at the same time. So I'm going to insert in the base of the previous stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's my first foundation single crochet for this block. And I'm going to work 4 more, and on that very 5th one, we will do a color change and go back to working with 2 strands of purple to create the purple block. So this is my second foundation single crochet. This is my third foundation single crochet. My fourth foundation single crochet, so inserting in the base of the previous stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And now for my 5th one. This is the stitch where we don't actually complete it. So I'm going to insert in the base of my stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through one, and now I'm going to stop. So at this point, we're going to stop using the orange, so I'm just going to set that ball of yarn off to the side. We're going to just bring that strand out of the way and grab our third ball of purple. We'll get it kind of lined up here. And I'm going to hold this purple with my dominant purple and start working with these two strands. And it can be helpful to kind of hold the extra strands out of the way so you don't get all tangled up. But then I'm going to yarn over with the two purple and pull through both loops on my hook. And now I'm going to work 5 foundation single crochet with both strands of purple. So same general process here. I'm going to work 5 foundation single crochet, but on that 5th one, we'll change color. So that's 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. Again, these are all foundation single crochet. Okay, now this is going to be 5, so I'm going to insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, and then we're going to stop. So again, we're going to hang on to this dominant purple. This is the same strand we've been using for all these stitches, but this extra purple, we're going to just set it off to the side. And again, it might be a little twisted up here. That's okay. Just push it out of the way. And we're going to introduce our second thing of orange. So these ones stay out of the way. I'm going to take my dominant strand of purple connected to this ball over here. I'm going to grab my orange that I'm now introducing, yarn over, and pull through both loops on my hook to complete the stitch. We've got the base of 3 blocks prepped, and I'm doing mine 4 blocks wide, so I just have one more block I need to get ready. And again, I'm going to use 5 single crochet stitches wide. And this time in that 5th one, we don't have to change color. So I'm just going to work 5 foundation single crochet. So pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert in the base of the stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 1, pull through 2. So that's my second one. Getting to my 3rd stitch. This is my 4th stitch. And this is going to be my 5th stitch, and this is going to complete my first row. So now we have a lot of balls of yarn attached here, but fortunately, now that we've done the setup, things are going to get a lot easier. And quite honestly, what becomes the most difficult part is not getting the yarn balls tangled, but I'll give some tips and pointers for that as well. So now we're going to work row 2, where on the sections of orange and purple, we're going to work orange and purple stitches. On the sections of purple stitches, we'll work purple. On the sections of orange and purple, we'll work orange and purple. And on the sections of purple, we will work purple. So the good news is for round 2, the stitches themselves are just all going to be single crochet. Just the only thing we have to do is pick up and drop different colors of yarn. So I'm going to start by chaining 1 and then turning my work. And when you turn your work right now, all these tails of yarn are kind of crisscrossed, but that's okay. Just go with it. I'm going to show you some tips for uncrisscrossing, but I just wanted to zoom out and show you that for a minute. So let's zoom back in here. So I've chained 1 and turned my work, and I'm going to work 5 single crochet with the same orange and purple that we were finishing up the previous row with. And on that 5th one, we're going to change color. So right now, we're just working single crochet. So we insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's my first single crochet. This is my second single crochet, my third single crochet, my fourth single crochet, and now for my 5th single crochet, I'm going to insert, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then stop. So at this point, I'm working with my dominant purple, and I've got an orange in here, but now we need to change over to this purple strand. So if we look here, this is my purple dominant strand, this is my orange. We're now going to drop the orange. I'm going to keep using the dominant purple strand, and then I'm going to pick up this other purple strand that we dropped from the first round. So if we look here, the purple strand I'm picking up goes with this ball right here. And so now I'm going to finish up this 5th stitch with these 2 strands of purple. And I'm just going to pick it up. It was kind of sitting in the front there. Just going to pick it up, yarn over and pull through 2 to finish those 5 stitches that are in the first block. And now we're working with purple for our purple block. So again, I'm going to work 5 single crochet using 2 strands of purple, and in the 5th one we'll drop the purple and go to orange. So I'm going to single crochet. It's my first one. This is my second. I'm working with the dominant purple ball and that other purple ball. This is my 3rd stitch, my 4th stitch, and now for my 5th stitch, I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then I'm going to stop. Again, I'll kind of zoom out here so you can see what's going on. This is my dominant purple strand. We're going to keep working with this. I had also been working with this purple strand that connects to this ball, but we're not going to work with it anymore. Instead, we're going to look on the front of our work, and we're going to find that orange strand that we dropped the previous round. And now I'm going to work with the dominant purple strand and with the orange strand that's sitting on the front of the work. And with those 2 strands, I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops to complete that stitch and change us over to the mixed color section. So again, 5 single crochet across, changing color on that 5th one. So I'm going to insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2, that's my first single crochet. This is my 2nd single crochet, a 3rd single crochet, a 4th single crochet, and now for this 5th one, we're going to change colors one more time. I'm going to insert in my stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then stop. So again, I'm going to continue working with the dominant purple strand, but this orange strand that goes with this ball here, I'm going to drop it and stop working with it. So this is the dominant purple strand, but if we look on the front, this strand connects to this ball of purple. I'm going to continue working with the dominant purple, and I'm going to grab this purple that's sitting to the front of my work. And this orange right here, by the way, this is just the tail from where we started it, so that's not connected to anything. But using these 2 purple strands, I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, and that will complete that section of purple and orange. And now I can work my 5 single crochet that are all purple. So that'll finish the row. So this is my first single crochet, 2nd single crochet, 3rd single crochet, 4th single crochet, and 5th single crochet. And that completes row 2. Our blocks are getting a little taller, and now we're going to turn our work and continue on. Moving on to round 3, it's going to be a pretty similar process where we just drop and pick up colors as we get to the different blocks. Again, we're working all single crochet. So the row starts off with a chain 1, then I'm going to turn my work, and in the first 5 stitches, I'm going to continue working with the 2 strands of purple, and then we'll change color in the 5th stitch. Again, all single crochet. So this is my first single crochet, this is my 2nd single crochet, my 3rd single crochet, 4th single crochet, and now for the 5th one, I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then stop. So now this strand here is my dominant purple, so I'm going to keep working with this, but this one is my secondary strand of purple, and I'm just going to toss it to the back side of my project. So I'm going to continue working with this purple dominant strand, and then I'm going to pick up the orange strand that's sitting to the front. And now I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2 to finish that stitch and change color. And you might kind of have to pull your tails off to the side out of the way a little bit if they get a little tangled. But now I can work my 5 stitches for the orange and purple section. So again, 5 single crochet. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and now for my 5th one, again, we're going to change color. So I'm inserting my hook, yarning over, pulling up a loop. I'm going to continue working with the dominant purple, but the orange that we were using, we're going to just kick to the back of the work, and we're going to find this purple sitting right here on the front of the project, and we're going to hold these 2 purple, you can use them as 1 strand of yarn, yarn over, pull through 2. Now I can work my 5 purple stitches. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, again all single crochet, and on the 5th one, I'm going to insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then stop. So again, we're gonna do that color change. So I'm hanging on to the dominant purple that I have set off to the left. We're gonna drop that second strand of purple we were working with, and we're gonna pick up the orange that's right there on the front of our project. I'm gonna hold these two together and treat them like one strand of yarn, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and now I just need 5 single crochet to finish off the row. So hopefully you're kind of getting the feel for how we pick up and drop and change colors. Really the hardest part of this whole thing is the setup and then figuring out how and when to pick up and drop colors. But once you get the hang of that, it's all single crochet and it's not as complicated and as confusing as it might seem at first. Now you can make your blocks however many rows tall you want. Since I'm doing 5 stitches wide for each block, I like to do 5 rows tall. So I'm going to do 2 more rows using this color pattern. I'll show you one more row just so you can really see what's going on. We start by chaining 1. And then I'm going to turn my work. Now sometimes they get really tangled up, and every few rows what I like to do is after I've turned it so I'm working in the correct direction, I like to turn it another 180 degrees. And the important thing here is to keep the dominant color ball to the right side. So I'm holding the dominant color ball in my right hand, and I'm going to flip it over, and then flip it over one more time. And I can move this ball back over to the left. My hook might be a little twisted around, so I'll just undo that twist there. And then if I look on the back here, my strands of yarn aren't quite as twisted. So now I can tackle row 4. I've already done the chain 1, and then I'm going to work 5 with the orange and purple. It's 5 single crochet. So this is my first single crochet, my second single crochet, my third single crochet, fourth single crochet, and on this 5th one I'm going to insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then stop because it's time to change color. So I'm going to hang on to my purple dominant strand. The orange strand we were using, just drop it to the back of the work, and on the front here we have our new purple strand waiting for us. So I'm going to hold both of these purple strands together as if they were one strand of yarn, use them both to yarn over my hook, and then pull through 2 loops. So we finished up the orange and purple section, and we've changed colors. So now 5 stitches with 2 purple strands. So this is my first single crochet, second single crochet, third single crochet, fourth single crochet, and with my 5th one, I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, stop, keep going with this one, but my secondary purple strand we're going to drop to the back. On the front, we will have an orange strand waiting for us. And you might notice these are just the tails from when we started, so you can ignore those. But I'm going to continue with the purple dominant strand, pick up the orange strand that's sitting on the front, and now I'll carry on with this as my new double strand of yarn. So yarn over, pull through 2. Now I'll work 5 stitches with this color combination. So this is my first single crochet, second, third, and fourth. Now for my 5th one, I'm going to insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, keep going with the purple dominant color, drop the secondary orange, and pick up the secondary purple that's on the front. Yarn over, pull through 2, and finish the row by working 5 single crochet. So I'm going to work one more row so that we have 5 rows of this color scheme, and then we're going to do the next set of blocks where we have the solid orange colors. So let me finish this up and then I'll meet you back when we're ready to change to orange. At this point I've worked the first 5 rows of stitches, which will create the first row of blocks. So now I'm ready to create the second row of blocks, which will be made up of another 5 rows of stitches. And the way that row is going to be is we will have the 2 colors above the purple blocks, solid orange above the 2 colors, a block of 2 colors above the purple block, and an orange block above the 2 colors here. Now something I also like to do is just untangle all my tails of yarn. Again, that little twisting and just kind of flipping everything over usually does a pretty good job of untangling things. So as long as you do a couple extra flips as you work along the project, you should be able to get those twists out of your balls of yarn to keep them as untangled as possible. So if we come to the end of row 5, we're going to need to change to 2 strands of orange to create the solid orange block above the purple and orange block. So to do the color change, I need to make it happen as I finish up that very final stitch. So I'm just going to undo my last stitch so I can show you how we change color. And this is really similar to how we change color in the middle of the rows, but I'm going to insert in my final stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then stop, because now we're going to change to 2 strands of orange. However, if we look at what we've got going on here, we have orange and purple here. So I can continue with this strand of orange, but this purple, it's got to completely go. So I'm going to take my dominant ball of purple that's been sitting off to the left side, leave a nice little tail, and cut it. Then remember how we made 3 balls of yarn in every color? Well, it's time to introduce that 3rd ball of orange, and this is going to be my new dominant color that's going to sit here to the left like the dominant purple was doing. And really the color change is very similar to what we've been doing all along. So now this purple is just detached and gone, so all I'm left with is the orange. And then this strand here is connected to my new dominant ball. So I've got that strand here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my new dominant strand here with that same orange from the previous block, hold them together like they're one strand, yarn over with both of them, yarn over and pull through 2, and that finishes this block here, and it also changes color. So now we're going to start creating some solid orange blocks. So to start round 6, I need to start with a turning chain. I will turn my work over, and now I'll use these 2 orange strands that we're working with to make my first orange block. So I'm going to work a single crochet in the first stitch, a single crochet with 2 strands of orange in the second stitch, a 3rd single crochet, a 4th single crochet, and at the 5th one we need to change color. So I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and like we've been doing, I'm going to hang on to my dominant color. So the new dominant color is orange, and that's this strand right here. This other strand of orange that we were working with, I'm just going to pull it to the back. If your balls of yarn are a little twisted, that's okay. Just push that strand to the back. And on the front, our purple strand is waiting for us. So I'm going to hang on to the dominant orange strand, pick up the purple strand that's sitting on the front, and complete my stitch with these 2 strands of yarn. So pull through 2. Now I can start making a block of orange and purple on top of the purple block. So I'm going to work 5 single crochet with the 2 different colors of yarn at the same time. So that's my first single crochet. This is my second single crochet, 3rd single crochet, 4th single crochet, and at the 5th one, you guessed it, we're changing color again. So I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. Again, we're going to hang on to the dominant orange strand, which is this guy here. But this secondary purple strand, we're just pushing it to the back, out of the way. Then on the front, there should be waiting my new secondary strand of orange. So I'm going to hold both the strands of orange, yarn over, pull through 2 to change color. Now 5 single crochet with the orange. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and on the 5th one, changing color again. So I'm pulling up that loop, hanging on to my dominant orange, dropping the other orange to the back, finding the purple strand on the front and picking that up, holding it with my orange, yarn over with those 2 strands and pull through 2. And then 5 single crochet stitches to finish this row. And now hopefully you can really start to see this pattern coming together. As we continue to work the next row, we're going to do the same exact process, and it's going to create this checkered pattern where we have solid purple, solid orange, solid purple, solid orange, and then all the ones in between are the mix of colors. So let me show you row 7, but it's really similar to what we've been doing all along, and hopefully this has clicked for you guys. And of course, if you ever have any questions about any of my videos, feel free to drop a comment, because I always like being able to help people out, because I want y'all to be able to make the projects that I show. So I'm going to finish up this tutorial by showing you row 7, and then I'll kind of talk through how we finish up the pattern, but at this point you pretty much know everything you need to create this pattern. So for row 7, start by chaining 1, I'm going to turn my work, and I'm turning counterclockwise. Really, it doesn't matter which way you turn, but as long as you turn the same direction every time, you can just do those extra turns and it'll get rid of the twist. If you're changing directions, that can tend to put a little more twist in it, but if you play around with it, you can usually find ways to keep your yarn balls as untangled as possible. We've chained 1 and turned our work. I'm going to continue working with the 2 different colors, and we're going to work 5 single crochet. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, And on this fifth one, we're not going to do the second yarn over and pull through 2 because we need to change color. So I'm hanging on to the dominant orange strand, dropping the secondary purple strand to the back, and on the front, we're going to pick up the orange strand that is waiting right there for us to finish that 5th stitch. And now we'll work 5 single crochet with the orange strands. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and on this 5th one, I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, hang on to my primary orange color, drop my secondary orange to the back, pick up the purple, and with these 2 strands, yarn over, pull through 2. Now that I've changed yarn color, I'm going to do 5 single crochet with the orange and purple. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and then for number 5, we pull up 1 loop, drop the purple to the back, keep going with the dominant orange, and pick up the secondary orange that was sitting right there on the front, yarn over with those 2 orange strands, and pull through 2 to finish the stitch and change color. And then finish the row with 5 single crochet. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. So I'm going to keep going with these orange blocks all the way through row 10, and then I'll swap back to purple blocks and then swap back and so on and so forth. Let me work through that and then I'll kind of explain what I did off camera because at this point we've covered everything we need to know. Alright, so I have finished working this little buffalo plaid square and I'm going to kind of talk through what I did for each step because we've gone over all the steps, but I just want to clarify where you do each part and also explain a little bit about where each piece of yarn ends up traveling through the project. So first of all, let's go back to the very beginning of the project. We started with the row of foundation single crochet where we were using a dominant strand of purple and we worked across and we worked with the purple here, then we added in the orange, then we added in the next ball of purple and then the next ball of orange. When we got to the end of the row, we continued working with the same purple and orange strand to start coming back across. Right here we dropped the orange, picked up the purple, dropped the purple, picked up the orange, and drop the orange and pick up the purple. So what was happening for this set of blocks, these rows 1 through 5, is our dominant purple color was getting worked back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Meanwhile, the first ball of purple, this one just got worked here, then dropped. Then in the next row it got picked up, worked across, then dropped. On the next row, picked up. The orange for this row, right here, we introduced it, worked it across, and then we dropped it. Then when we came back on row 2, we picked it up again, worked it across, and dropped it. Then when we came back for row 3, we picked up the orange, worked it across, and then dropped it. So what ends up happening is the secondary purple color, that got worked just in the column of this block. This secondary orange color got worked just in the column of this block. The secondary purple here got worked in rows back and forth, just working up just this column here. And the secondary orange got worked back and forth, working in just this column here. Another thing of note is whenever we get to the end of a row, we continue working with both strands. So we continue with the dominant strand and we continue with the secondary color we were working on. So down at this side, it was dominant purple and secondary orange, and we just worked that on up to the next row. Over here was dominant purple and secondary purple. We worked to the end of the row and then up the row. So that got us through rows 1 through 5, which created the first row of blocks. And then once we were done with this row of blocks, we were ready to work this row of blocks with solid orange blocks. So when we were ready to work on the next row of blocks, at the end of row 5, we cut the dominant purple yarn and we introduced a dominant orange yarn. And that dominant orange, we worked back and forth for rows 6 through 10. Now remember the secondary orange we were using right here? That same orange that we were working back and forth just in this column is the same orange we worked back and forth in this column. So the dominant colors get worked back and forth across the whole width for just a block. So this was dominant purple, this was dominant orange, this was dominant purple, this is dominant orange. But those secondary colors, those get worked up through the columns. So this whole column here was secondary orange, that same ball of orange just getting worked back and forth. This column here was that secondary purple getting worked in rows back and forth just up this column. This whole column was secondary orange. This whole column was secondary purple. Now I chose to make each of my blocks 5 rows tall, so I changed the dominant color at the end of every multiple of 5. So at the end of row 5, I changed from dominant purple to dominant orange. At the end of row 10, I changed from dominant orange to dominant purple. At the end of row 15, I changed from dominant purple to dominant orange. And if I had continued at the end of row 20, I would have changed from dominant orange to dominant purple. If you did a different number of rows to create the heights of your block, let's say you did 6 rows to create a block like I did in my red and black pillowcase, then you would change dominant color at the end of every multiple of 6. So you change at the end of row 6, at the end of row 12, at the end of row 18, and so on. And of course you can make the pattern as wide as you want, you can make as many blocks as you want, you can make your blocks as many stitches wide and as many rows tall as you want, but the same basic idea applies. We're working with a dominant color that we change every row of blocks, and we're working with a secondary color that we change every width of a block. So I hope that explanation made sense. It can be a little confusing when you first see it, but once you get everything set up and once you start working it, it's actually surprisingly simple because again, we're just doing single crochet stitches back and forth. The only thing that's goofy is the color changes. But that is how you crochet 2-strand buffalo plaid. So I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial and this method for creating buffalo plaid. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, drop them in the comment. I'm always here to answer and try to help you troubleshoot if you run into any problems. Now, initially when I was working on this project, I was like, oh yes, it's so good and Christmassy and festive, but really you don't have to stop with just holiday decor items. So as I was working on the orange and purple for the tutorial, I realized this would be a great method to make projects for sports teams. So maybe you want to make a blanket using your team's colors. The buffalo plaid would be a really fun pattern to use. And this method is so great because, it'd be really hard to find a color that's a good mix between purple and orange, but we can create it right here using this method. But now I have this nice cozy pillow I can use all season long, and I hope you guys enjoy this project as well. Happy crafting!